Thanks so much for being a part of our study in Deuteronomy. Yesterday, we looked at one of the commandments, which is in verse 17, chapter 5 of Deuteronomy, you shall not murder. And Rudy pointed out how God gave this command, and then his people went immediately into the land and killed a whole lot of people. And this is one of the things that trips people up in the Bible. And I have people all the time asking me questions about what trips them up. And at the end of the day, my answer is, I don't know why that happened. I have to say that. There are some things we can lay out about God. From almost the very beginning to the end, God is concerned about what we would call today an immigrant. They were called back then an alien, but since we're talking about UFOs, we'll use the word immigrant. God is always concerned about other people. You look at the life of Jesus, he always raised up the person that other people put down. He always included those who were excluded. God has a heart for people that is unbounding, okay? With that being said, God, who we read so loved the world that he gave his only son, also had his people go in and conquer another nation. I'm going to have to tell you, I don't know why that happened, but I trust God, who is full of love, who is completely holy, who is absolutely just, that he's doing the right thing there. So when he says, you shall not murder, he still allowed this war to take place. He actually didn't allow it. He sent that war to take place for his purposes. We don't know what those purposes are. We just trust that they're good. One more thought on that?
Well, one more thought on that is that I do believe that this is an image, a signpost, that sin cannot live in heaven. And the promised land is an echo of the real promised land.
Right, okay. So we didn't solve that whole problem, but we got touched on it. Let's go to the next one. Verse 18 is the next commandment. You shall not commit adultery. The commandments are divided into two parts. The first parts deal with our love relationship with God, and the second part deals with our love relationship with one another. And, obviously committing adultery is a breaking of that relationship between husband and wife. You want to comment on that a bit?
Well, you're right. And because God told us not to do it, it's basically breaking our relationship with him.
Correct.
It's not unforgivable, but you do have to ask for forgiveness. But I do believe that there's a spiritual reality to not committing adultery, because each individual sins are intermixed with the other person's sin in relations. And basically, you almost have a doubling of your sin when you do it. And so God would have that not to be the case, because he knows that you've opened a door. The thing is, he promised that if you asked him to close a door, who could open it if he said it was closed? Right. And if he opened a door, who could close it? Yes. So there is protection in this, but I do think you have to be humble enough to ask for it. And I don't really think that it's a good practice thinking that God will forgive me when I ask. There's a issue there that will convict me too much to talk about right now.
Sure. Well, the image of adultery here is important, because when God talks to his people about their own relationship with him, one of the images that he uses frequently is that they have committed adultery. Yes. They have left their love of the Father, and they've given it to someone else who is not worthy of that love.
And also when I think about adultery, and I think about it like this, it's like in the Seder, Passover Seder that was the Last Supper, Jesus never drank the fourth cup which closes every Seder and has for 3,500 years. And the fourth cup represents, I will be your God and you'll be my people.
Mm-hmm.
This is what some of the stuff that God told Moses before he ever went to talk to Pharaoh the first time. Jesus refines the fourth promise like this, that you'll be one with me as I am one with the Father. Therefore, if we are going to have this oneness with him, is our sin intermingling? That's one of the reasons he wants us to be righteous.
Right.
Because that would intermingle with his. The thing is that holiness cannot be hurt by us.
Right.
Yet, in some ways, he's wanting us not to hurt ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Let's just move on. Let's take the next one. The next is you shall not steal. And again, I referenced Peter Craigie in his commentary. He calls this man stealing, and it's the idea of kidnapping. And so you take someone and you force them into human trafficking, you force them into slavery, and that's different from picking up a pencil at the 5 and dime. And that's obviously not good too. But the damage that is done when someone's life is taken and put somewhere else. So we have the picture of Joseph, who is sold into slavery by his brothers. And he is cut off from his family. He's cut off from his future. He's cut off from his life. Now God turned that thing around, and what they meant for evil, God turned into good. But think about what has taken place throughout history when people have been pulled away from their families, from their roots, from their traditions, from their lives, and they have been made to serve the economic interests of someone else. And
that's deeper than I would have thought where he was going with that.
Absolutely. And so when you think about, you're entering a land and you're going into a land to live in love with God and to live in love with one another, one of the great acts of non-love, if I can put it like that, would be to uproot someone from their life for your own selfish interests so they can serve you and to not care about them.
Well, God definitely doesn't want to set up a situation and bless it that you are not working and you're taking something from someone else because you don't want to work for it.
Right.
And that may be a lesser way to think about it, but the uprooting of nations is definitely a deep thought.
It is. I would encourage you to just, when you're Googling around on the internet, to type in the word human trafficking and to see in 2021, the large number of people who are basically being violated by the people who've chosen to disregard this commandment, you shall not steal. And on that, let's just go ahead and stop, and we'll pick up the next of the 10 Commandments tomorrow. God bless you, and you have a great day.